Alright, today I'm going to talk about different knives. There's no one knife for every situation. Even most of our combat troops will carry 1 to 2 different types of knives. Usually you'll have a fixed blade knife, such as a combat knife, hunting knife, etc. A good folder, locker, anything like that. The thumb break knives, quick release knives. There's so many different types of blades that you can use for different things. I pulled a few blades out of my collection. To pull more out would involve a lot of digging. They range from very odd to very practical. Of course, you have the classic lockback knife. Good staple. A lot of people carry these as hunting knives. I've had this one for years. Very sharp. I actually carry this in my tactical pack that I use for going to my classes, going to work. It stays in a pouch. It's there as a backup in case if you need it for anything. So it's just there. Now my day-to-day carry is a small tactical response. Has a glass breaker on it, seat belt cutter, and of course the classic spring assist blade. Has serrated edge and a regular edge. I carry this day to day. I work in healthcare, and technically you're not supposed to have weapons on you, but I use this as utility. The seat belt cutter comes in very handy because we get people in that still have hospital bands. I can take this and pop that off of them without ever using an open blade. It's great all-around carry knife. Of course, another multi-bladed folder, non-locking. It's an old Ranger. I got this from my grandfather. It's got a straight razor type blade. I'm not opening this up because it's been in storage for a while and I really need to clean it up. But it has a straight razor type blade, a hooked blade, and then a regular folder blade. Of course, the Bubba of pocket knives, that was my grandfather's folder. He gave this to me and it's still very sharp. I could almost shave with this thing. My grandfather gave me this when I inherited his tools years ago before he passed away. Old Bakelite handles, the rest of it's all metal. Heavy as hell. I mean, can knock somebody out with that. Now for the classic butterfly knife. There's 3 types of people that mess with these knives. You have the people that actually know how to use them, that know how to flip them, do all that stuff. You have the idiots that have watched a YouTube video, they pick it up and cut the tip of a finger off, and then you have the people that have no clue what they are except that they've seen them before. I don't do all the fancy tricks with it. I can flip it out, I can flip it back. Now, personal note, I'm probably the only person that you'll ever know that has walked into a police station with this, opened it in front of an officer, and walked back out of the police station with it. And the only reason is the circumstance. I was working in Texas and it was in my tool pouch. We were redoing their lighting systems and I would use this as my one-handed knife. I could open it, cut packaging on anything I needed, and close it all one-handed. Officer goes, "Sir, do you realize that's illegal?" I said, if I was on the street, yes, but this is a tool in my pouch. He said, well, if you need a knife that'll open one-handed, why don't you get one of those little thumb break knives? I said, do you have one? He says, of course. Well, I'll use mine that's thumb break or finger assist. He says, yeah, see, you can open it one-handed. I said, now close it one-handed while you're working with live power lines. Good day, sir. And he walked on. Now, mind you, I can close one safely one-handed, but that's just because I've practiced with it. But yet again, when you're working with live power lines, it's not something you want to play with. Now, here's a little something. This was just a joke. I told somebody I could make a knife that I could get past a metal detector, and it's made out of epoxy resin. It was just a crude little knife, and it's got an edge. I could cut things with it, but it's all plastic. And that was just a joke that I told somebody that I could even make a knife that could get by a metal detector. He didn't believe me, and then I handed him this the next day, and he cut his hand on it. So never put anything by people. Now, going into the axe style knives. I shot a video earlier today that was showing it. This is my M-Tech Tomahawk. It's got a really nice blade. I just got this yesterday, and I've already been using it and abusing it. It's getting scuffed up pretty good, but I'm having loads of fun with it. Sharp as hell. Actually, pretty good little tomahawk for 15 bucks. So it's been fun. Now I got this knife. I like this knife because it's similar to my big boy here, and I'll show that to you in a minute. I got this paracord wrapped handle. It's like a cross between a hatchet and a knife. A little impractical for many things, but I'll show you what I got it for. Now, this knife I have owned since 1995. I paid about $18 for it. Those are not the original pins that held it. I had to actually get the feed-through bolts for it. The pins came off about 2 years after I bought this thing. But called it Bubba. He's seen better days. He's marred up, got stuff all over him, blades all nicked. But I've had him, been a great knife. Learned how to throw him first. Just really like it. It's been a good utility blade for me. Now, like I was saying, choosing knives for different purposes. And here was a little set of throwing knives I made out of edger blades. They were made for the way I throw, for my balance. I need to practice with them again, but yet again, just you can make blades to have. But for your carry bags, for anything like that, you need a good knife for carrying on you. So in my go bag, I have 2 different types of knives at least. I usually have one of the hatchet knives because you never know when you're going to be cutting things. I have my lockback knife just for straight out using there, and then I have my normal carry knife. Well, for my bug out bag, I have this knife, and you would wonder why I carry something this big and unwieldy in a bug out bag. Well, because of how this blade is, how tough it is, and how strong it is, I use this as a skinning knife. I can actually get a lot of meat out of that skin. Haven't used it for that in a long time, but you would have skinner blades. Don't limit yourself to any one type of blade. Most people think about their guns and everything else in a bug out bag, but what are you going to do when you run out of ammunition? You always have to have a plan B. So my bug out bags, I carry ammunition. I keep some ammunition stored. I've got, and everybody's going to laugh at me because it's such a low amount, but out of all my assorted calibers, I've only got about 1,000 rounds of ammunition. I don't waste ammo. I do go and train. If I go and shoot 100 rounds of ammo, I buy another 100 round box as soon as I can. I usually keep about 300 to 500 rounds of 9mm ammo. I keep anywhere from 1 to 300 rounds of my 7.62 TOC. I have over 100 rounds of 20 gauge for my shotgun. I have a few hundred rounds of 22, and I got about 100 rounds of my 54R for my Mosin. And then I've got a couple other assorted calibers that fell into my possession. Why? Because I can. I just traded them away, but I had 2 fully loaded AK-47 mags with the 7.62x39 loaded up, so I had 60 rounds of that. Traded them away for something else. I don't own an AK. Why would I have it? As a backup, because there's AKs around. But getting back to the topic of knives, like I said, I've got the Tomahawk. I would suggest, just as a survival trait, learn how to use one of these. You never run out of ammunition. If you learn how to throw, because the Tomahawks are good. It's an all-purpose item. You can use it as a utility. You can use it as a thrown weapon, you know, anything like that. I usually have a hatchet too. If you don't know how to throw a Tomahawk, there's some great little videos. You can choose something that works for you. I found a great style that's been working for me, and I was throwing right-handed. I shot that video earlier today, and I was teaching myself to throw left-handed. I'm ambidextrous, right-hand dominant. Well, I've never thrown left-handed. I can shoot left-handed. I can do pretty much anything else, but I've never tried to throw left-handed. And at first, it was goofy as hell. Why would I learn to throw offhand? Why not? You should always train on your weapon how to shoot with your other hand. What if your main hand gets injured? What if you break it? You still have to be able to operate your weapons. Like this, if you learn how to use a weapon left or right-handed and make it where it is as comfortable in either hand, you're fine. And if you're comfortable with it either hand, you're going to do good. Now, with a blade like this, I got this and I started thinking about it. There is a Filipino style of knife fighting. You always see people with the knives up, like, I'm going to stab you, man. I'm sorry if that come off a little racist, but you always hear, oh, I'm going to stab you, I'm going to stab you. Or they hold it and they're like, I'm going to stab you. Well, there's a whole nother fighting style where you hold the knife downward. You have jabs, you have punches, you have slashes. You can slash, stab. Well, I started thinking about this, and then I started thinking, well, why can't I cross these two? Well, because I fight that way with knives, and I train that way. I started turning around. Well, this just didn't feel right. I adjusted my grip. I brought it down to the curve. Okay, I know it looks goofy. Well, now I have a metal object. I can hit pressure points. I can control. I have a slicing weapon. I have a stabbing weapon. I have a hook for grabbing around and controlling. Just because you have a lethal weapon in your hand does not mean you have to use it lethally. You should train with your equipment in a lethal and non-lethal, because there may be situations arise that you don't want to kill, that is better to disarm. So many people focus on the killing aspect of the training. Not saying that's wrong. I know guys that when they go practice shooting, they only worry about learning headshots. Well, in a gunfight situation, you may not be able to react fast enough. You may not be able to get to your gun. You may have just a knife on you. So if you learn how to use items like this to the best of your ability, you are never defenseless. And so it doesn't matter if your knife looks goofy, looks very practical, looks old-fashioned. Learn to use every item in your inventory, and then you are never unarmed.